Today let us take up the burden of proof in this video under section 101 to 111A, which is coming under the Indian Evidence Act 1872. The topic burden of proof means, in Tamil it is called meipikkum poruppu. So we have to prove the facts. That is proving a fact with whom it lies. That is the important issue in this topic. So the burden means it does not connote the weight. It is the onus of responsibility lies with whom, or the duty, the liability or responsibility of proving the fact lies with whom, or who has to prove the fact. That is an important issue in this burden of proof. So the Indian Evidence Act adopts double standard for this burden of proof. One is called belief of the court. The court has to believe that it is a fact. Second thing, the probability as per the prudent man, as per the standard of prudent man. Prudent means a knowledgeable man who can come to a conclusion on any fact. That is the probability as per the standard of prudent man. So these two tests it has to pass for giving the burden of proof. And anything which has two important elements, that is it can be also called as philosophy, that is means and ends. For any end there should be a mean. So the mean means the way to attain the end, there should be a mean. So the tool or mean is the evidence is the tool or means, and the proof or the result is the end. So through the evidence or through the tool, the proof has to be proved. That is the philosophy involved in anything. There should be a mean, there should be an end. So this evidence is usually in Indian courts is as per the common law, which is adopted in courts. That is the adversary system is adopted. In adverse there are two systems in court. One is called adversarial and inquisitive. In adversarial system, usually the judges hear the case and basing on the evidence and basing on the facts, the judgment is given. That is called the adverse system. So there are two types of cases. One is called civil and criminal. In civil cases, usually the parties, one party who asserts the case, that is who is accusing another, is called asserting, and another one is denying. The asserting person is otherwise called plaintiff, or otherwise called petitioner, one who give petition to the court, or one who complains the case is called plainant or complainant, or otherwise called plaintiff. And on the other side, the denying of the that is plaintiff, that is that party is called defendant or the respondent in the case of civil law. But in the case of criminal law, usually the accused will be there and the denial will be there. The denial is usually done by or the argument is done by the prosecution, that is the state. So this is state versus accused. So it is always called public wrong. Since the criminal wrong is considered as a public wrong, it is as if the wrong is committed against the state. The state take the case and the public prosecutor argue the case. So this is state versus accused. So the means of responsibility of the, according to what is the burden of proof definition means, the means responsibility of proving a fact or the case. Burden of proof means the responsibility of proving a fact or the case. So a fact has to be proved, for which how the facts are proved by various methods. Those things we are going to see in this topic. First we will see section 101. Who has to bear the burden of proof? That is the burden of proof. That is whoever asserts or whoever blame the other that the other has committed a mistake or the a crime, then whoever asserts must prove those facts in issue. So whoever asserts that some wrong committed, and the burden is on that person to prove the facts in issue. That is the section 101 says. Then in another way, you want judgment in your favor, so you bear the burden and prove the case. So whenever you want the case to be judged on your favor, you have to prove the case. The burden lies with yours. That is the section 101 says. That is the onus of proof. That is the test of preponderance of probabilities in civil cases beyond reasonable doubt. So the beyond reasonable of doubt, the proof should be made in all civil cases. But in criminal case, there are two stages are there. First stage, the deciding of the guilt, and second thing, that is if found guilty, then the punishment is, the quantum of punishment is decided. That is, the court gives verdict on finding out the guilt, and if it is proved by various means of investigation, inquiry and trial, then the case is decided and punishment is given. So illustration, here A says B committed crime, then naturally the burden lies with A that B has committed a crime. A must prove that B has committed crime, because A only asserts that B has committed crime. So the responsibility lies with A to prove the case. So this is in Latin term, this is elique affirmat, that is incumbit and probatis. He who affirm must prove. He who affirm the case must prove. That is the Latin term. Now we will be switching on to 102, on whom the burden lies. Suppose A sues B, A sues the B in court. B is in possession of land, as A asserts that the land was left to A by the will of C. So C by his will gives the land to B. A asserts that the land was left to A. With the will of A. So the land is originally belongs to A, like that A asserts. So B's father, that no evidence on this case, no evidence on either side, whether it is on A or B, then B would be entitled to possess the land, because either A or B not in a position to illustrate the case or not in a position to prove the case, then the possession of the land with B holds good. That is on whom burden of proof lies. Then section 103, burden of proof in a particular fact. Suppose illustration, A prosecutes B for theft. So A must prove the admission. So A prosecutes the B for theft, and then naturally A must prove the admission in this case. It can be by means of the theft articles can be produced in the court, or he can be caught by the police like that, etc. So the burden of proof to the particular fact, that is illustration, A prosecutes B for theft. So A must prove the admission. Then section 104 says burden of proving the fact to be proved to make evidence admissible. Suppose who has to prove the burden in the case of dying declaration? Illustration, A wishes to prove a dying declaration by B. So B has dead during the time of death. A was on his side and must be on his side. So he is giving the dying declaration, and that has to be proved. So that is the inner meaning. The burden of proving of fact in a dying declaration, burden of proof for the particular fact, this is over, and burden of proving the cases of accused comes within, that is the next one, exemption. So this is dying declaration. Section 104 is dying declaration. The dying declaration, A must prove B's death. So actually the B has dead, that should be proved by A. This is under section 104. Now we will be moving or switch on to section 105, which says the burden of proving the cases of accused comes within exceptions. So the accused has done some crime, but it is within exceptions. So he was under the influence of doing that accusation, doing that crime, that is known as exceptions. For example, when a person, when his life is under threat, when a person's life is under threat by another person, naturally he will be forced to use his force, and in the melee the another person might have been died. So these are all coming under the exceptions. It is not coming under the murder. This is coming under the culpable homicides. So whenever this type of sudden provocation or something, some people might have given some force to the person, threatening his life and other thing, using his force and other thing, then naturally there will be some commotion which may cross his boundaries, and during the melee there may be something, some even death may happen. So these are all coming under the exceptions. The burden of proving the cases of accused come within exception. This is expressed in section 325 of IPC, the exceptions. In that it starts as nothing is an offense. So the the section starts nothing is an offense, since it is coming under the exception. Then in this case we will quote another a living example or a interesting example, that is Nalladangal syndrome. The case study is Suyambu Kannu versus Tamil Nadu 1989, LW and criminal 86. So what this case says, it is based on the case Nalladangal syndrome. Nalladangal was in utter power, or she was living in Madurai with her husband, and due to extreme poverty she was driven to her birthplace, that is a hamlet near to Srivillibutur, and there she went to that hamlet along with the 8 children to have an asylum or to alleviate her poverty in her brother's house. But there she was under constant provocation by his brother's wife, because his brother was not in that time. So she was under constant sustained threat or force by her brother's wife. She and her children was not fed properly. So she was under continuous provocation and continuous hunger, and this has driven her to go for suicide and to kill all the 8 children. So she jumped into the well along with the 8 kids, but luckily or unluckily, all the children's 8 children died, but she somehow escaped from the clutches of the death. So the sections what they she was charged under murder for the children and for committing suicide. But what is the court says, a new phrase was initiated by the Madras High Court, that is sustained provocation. She was under the sustained provocation, so naturally she was driven to the extreme condition of going to the death of her children as well as the suicide of her. So this is known as, so naturally this is not coming under the clutches of law, that is not under the clutches of the crime. So on that basis she was declared as not coming under the crime. So in Latin it is termed as ejusdem generis rule. This is known as ejusdem generis rule. So basing on this some of the cases were decided. This is under section 105. Then we will be moving on to section 106, burden of proving facts, especially with knowledge. So with the knowledge, if something happened, then what has to be done to prove the case? Suppose we are getting a ticket in a bus and we are moving from one place to another place, say from Madras Central to Coimbatore by bus. We have got the ticket, or a person has got the ticket from the conductor, but he could not be in a position to produce the tickets, by somehow he may misplace the ticket or something like that. But the thing is, he knows very well that he has taken the ticket, and the conductor also knows that he has taken the ticket. So in this case, he has to prove the case that he has got the ticket, that is within the knowledge. And section 107 says, this is with regard to the death of a person who is known for living for 30 years. When a person is living for 13 years, that has to be proved. The death of a person known to have been alive within 30 years has to be proved. This is with regard to the section 107. And section 108 says, the section of the burden of proving the person is proving is alive who has not been heard for 7 years. Naturally, when a person is not heard for 7 years, the law will presume that he is dead. But if at all, if he is in living condition, then it has to be proved by some correspondence from him, or by phone message, or from some photographies or some conversation. Those things are to be produced for having the person is in living condition. That is section 108 says. Then we will be moving on to the section 109. The burden of proving as relationship in the case of partners, that is the landlord and tenant, the agent and principal. So the what is the relationship between the agent and the principal, the landlord and tenant are to be proved, if at all, if the case is pertaining to with these persons. That is the responsibility lies on the persons who wants to assert that he is a tenant or that he is a landlord or something like that. The other party has to prove. Suppose if he is the principal, the agent, the principal has to prove that he is the principal, and the other person is agent. And then next, section 111, proving of burden, of good faith in transaction where one party is in relation of active confidence. So these two words are important, the good faith and active confidence. When a transaction happens between two persons, it is with good faith and active confidence. So the active confidence and good faith are to be proved whenever they want to prove a case in the transaction between two persons. That is with regard to the section 111. So these two words are important, good faith and active confidence. Whenever a transaction happens, there should be good faith and the active confidence should be there. The active confidence is there. Then and there should not be any, and this is applicable to contract also. There should not be any undue influences according to Contract Act 16, section 16. There should not be any undue influences in entertaining the contract. Then section 111A, the last one, we are coming to the section 111A, in which the proof of fact in certain grave offences. These are all pertain to grave offences. That is, whenever some curfew is there or some force is used to bring the peace in the country and other thing, then there should not be the person, there should not be any, a person should not interfere in all those things. When the state machinery comes into the rescue of the people, or when they want the peace, nothing should be done against the state. That is in the case of 111A. If at all, if any waging of war against state, that is taken as grave offences. So this is with regard to the 111A. That is, whenever the rule of law is destroyed, should not be allowed in the allowed the benefits. So whenever the rule of law is destroyed, or when a rule of law is made collapsed by any person, then there should not be the benefit should not be allowed for that person. That is section 111A. So we have discussed the burden of proof, with whom the burden lies. Who has to prove the fact in issue in a particular case? When a person asserts the case, he has the burden of proving the case. That is an important thing to be noted in this in all these sections. So if I say that another person committed some grave mistake or crime, I have to prove that he has committed crime. This is an important issue to be brought into the conclusion. With this, we conclude this video.